Welcome to My Sew Bliss. Today I'm going to show you how to make a simple zipper pouch. Super quick and easy, and it is the second video in a three-part series that I'm doing on how to make 3 different pencil pouches. So make sure you check out the other 2 videos. I will leave links down below and in the iCard so you guys can check those out as well. Today we're doing the simple zippered one, but it is also lined inside, so it looks really nice. Love it in this cotton and steel fabric. Again, love cotton and steel. They were actually in my last video too. So the supplies that you're going to need for this project are your fabric, and I just cut fabric out of fat quarters, and I did 2 different fat quarters, so one for the lining and one for the outside. So I have 4 pieces, 2 lining and 2 of the regular outside fabric, and those pieces are 6.5 by 11. The great thing about this project is that you can make them whatever size you want. This one I made 6 by 11, and I decided I wanted a tiny bit taller, so that's why I made these pieces 6.5 by 11. I think that's a really good pencil pouch or makeup bag, or just something I could throw even in a diaper bag, and it could just hold all of my things, all my mom things, and just keep things organized, which is why I love making these little pouches. They're not just for pencils, but they make a great accessory for back to school. So you're going to need that fabric, and then you're also going to need a regular all-purpose zipper, non-separating, so it doesn't separate at the bottom. I got, this one's a 7-inch. I think now looking back at it, I would do an 8-inch for this. An 8 to 9-inch would fit a little bit better, but I just have this one, so I'm just going to use this. I think it'll work out okay for mine, but between a 7 to 9-inch zipper would work great. This one I actually used a lot smaller zipper because I didn't realize how small of zippers I had, but I think it'll work because I'm going to use this one as a makeup bag. So then you're just going to need all of your basic sewing supplies. So let's get started. For our first step, we're going to have our zipper laying down closed, right sides up. And I'm going to take one of my top pieces first, and I'm going to lay that right sides together on top of my zipper, and I'm actually laying it over the coils right here. And I'm going to line that up, make sure the zipper is in the center, so I want equal amount on either side. I'm okay just eyeballing it. If you want to measure or just make sure it's laying there, that would probably be good too. If you don't trust that, you could get it in the center, but then I'm just pinning it on just to hold it there for a second, because now I'm going to flip that over so my zipper is now upside down, and I'm going to take one of my lining pieces and I'm going to set that right on top, so that's sandwiching, set that one off to the side, that's sandwiching our zipper in between the lining piece and the outside fashion fabric piece. So I'll make sure my edges are all lined up on the bottom, on the sides, make sure that zipper is staying in the middle, and now I'm going to pin through all 3 layers and probably add another pin or 2. Make sure that zipper stays in place because it can get a little slippery. So once you have it pinned in place, I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine and stitch that down. So let me show you that. To sew these pieces together, I am using my zipper foot so I can get close to the zipper and not actually break a needle or just have it all bunch up. And this will work a lot better. And I'm going to be stitching at about 1/2 inch, between 1/4 to 1/2 inch. This is my zipper pull right here. So I want to get close to it, but I don't want to hit it or it would break my needle. So about 1/2 inch is what I'll aim for. Once I have that sewn, I can open my pieces up and lay them wrong sides together. And then I'm going to take it over and iron that down just so it lays really nice. It is looking good. You don't want to iron the coils, especially if they're plastic, because that would melt them. If you have metal coils, you don't have to be quite as careful, but okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. So I'll take my zipper, right sides up. Here I have my other piece, And this time I want to line it up with the sides of the piece that I already have sewn on. So that's why you want to make sure it's centered in the beginning. Here, I'm going to iron that because that's flipping a little bit. Don't want that to bother me. Okay, so now I'm going to set that right on top, so right sides together. The bottom is not going to line up. You want it to line it up with the zipper and the sides for this part. So I can pin that in place once it's lined up, and then flip it over, and I will put the lining on. And again, line up the sides, and then I can take those pins out and repin it. And probably put in a couple more. And now I'm ready to take it over to my sewing machine and stitch that part down. Once you have both sides done and ironed, you're going to take it over to your sewing machine, and I like to do a top stitch right along the edge, about 1/8 of an inch away from this fold right here, and that's just going to help prevent the fabric from getting caught in the zipper, and it just makes it look really nice and professional. So I'm just going to do a straight stitch on top, down both sides. Once the top stitching is complete, then I'm going to take my pieces and I'm going to put the outside pieces together. So line those up and just kind of flip it so that the lining pieces are then laying together, and right sides together. So wrong sides are out right now. And I'm just going to line up the edges and start pinning around it. Now, while I'm pinning, one other thing that I want to do for mine, and this is only because my zipper is a little bit shorter, so mine goes from about here to here, so there's a little bit of a gap right here. So I'm going to put pins where the zipper ends on this side. So I just feel for the metal piece or the plastic piece, depending on the kind of zipper you have. So that's where it would end. And then the zipper tab is on this side, so it's a little easier to tell. And I'll just put this right before it. Because one other thing, I want to come in when I'm stitching this down so that it closes this off as well. So if you don't have a zipper that's short like this, don't worry about that. If it's as long as the bag, that's perfect. Because now we're going to sew around the entire thing. And I'm going to start with my lining. I'm going to start in the middle on the bottom and go over, pivot, and go up the other side, pivot, then come to the other corner, pivot, and go down to back to the lining, pivot, and I'm going to leave about a 2 to 3 inch opening so that I can turn it right sides out later. So I put my regular foot back on, and I'm going to be stitching at 1/2 of an inch, and I'll just hold my threads and start stitching, and then do a quick back stitch, and then continue on around the entire pouch. So I've stitched all the way around, and now I'm going to do right inside to that point on my zipper that it starts, so that there's no hold right there. Just like I said before, you don't have to do this if you have a bigger zipper. Mine's just a little bit shorter than the actual bag, so I need to do it so that there's no hole. But I want to get as close to that stitching that we created, the top stitching we created, so that it doesn't create like a gap. So I did cut my seam allowance right here just to move it over because I stitched it down. So now I'm just going to get as close as possible and back stitch at the beginning and the end. And right when I hit that needle, I back stitched, and then I'm done. And for this, I decided just to do it on the outside fabric, not on the lining fabric, because it's actually not even necessary on the lining fabric. So I just did it right on the outside fabric on both sides. One thing that I forgot to mention is before you sew around this, and have it all pinned together, you want to make sure you open the zipper. So that way when we turn it right sides out, you can actually access it through the zipper, because you're going to be going through the lining. So there's no zipper pull on the inside of the zipper, you want to make sure it's open before we get to that point. After I have it sewn down, before I turn it right sides out, I'm going to go to each corner and clip that corner. And that's just going to make it so the corners come out easily. On the lining, if you want to, you could trim it halfway. That will also help it to lay nicer. Where we haven't sewn yet, I'm going to leave it a little bit bigger just so it's easier to turn. So just do a little trimming first. Once you have your trimming all done, then we're going to take it and just start turning it right sides out and just kind of stuffing everything through that opening that we had. And I'm going to pull my outside fabric out, and I really want to make sure those corners come out and look really nice. So I do have a point turner. They're really handy to have on hand. You can get them at most fabric stores have them. I just got mine at Joann, and it helps to make those corners look really nice. So you don't want to poke too hard because you could poke a hole through your fabric, but just make sure everything is out, especially on those thicker fabrics. So once I have those points out, then I'm just actually going to pull the lining out. I'm not going to tuck it in quite yet because we still have to finish this opening. So I'm going to take it to my ironing board. Let me just pull this over and just iron that opening. I'm going to iron the edges closed so there's no raw edges that you would see. Iron that together, because then I can take it over to my sewing machine and I'm just gonna stitch right along here so that it closes it. And I don't mind that you'll see that stitching because that's gonna be on the inside of the bag. If you do mind that, you could do like a whip stitch, or you could even do a slip stitch. I'll put a link to a video in the iCard right up here for how to do a slip stitch. So after you have that sewn, make sure you have your threads all trimmed. Mine's kind of messy, so trim those off. There we go. And then I can tuck the lining inside where it's supposed to be. And you can even use your point turner here to make sure that the points of the lining are lining up with the inside of the fabric. So it just will lay really nice. Make sure the top comes out. Sometimes this gets stuck in here. You kind of have to push that out, and it's a little more bulky, so the point turner is a big help there. And on the other side. And then I like to give the bag a nice iron to really finish it off. And now you are all done with your pencil pouch. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure you check out the other 2 tutorials in this series on how to make 3 different pencil pouches. And make sure to check out my Instagram, My Sew Bliss, to see more tips, tricks, and what I'm sewing every day. Also make sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!